we look at the customs that we do in this way, the things that we do in this way, they will not just be customs, will not just be tradition, but they have a meaning. They have very deep meaning. But this is a way we can learn about another culture. So what we might find on the retreat like this is that there are many things that we are not used to, like the food, the way we sleep, the things we do. But when we think of these things as the way to train the mind, and this is very useful and very helpful. And of course you will probably have noticed that it's very helpful for your meditation. But you might not be aware that these things actually help you to develop the qualities that lead to Buddhahood. This is quite a high topic. Or at least we can say that the qualities of a Buddha are related to what we are doing. When you look at the Buddha, he's like an example of what a person can achieve in terms of developing the mind. In Buddhist culture, therefore, you could say that Buddhist culture derives from the example of the Buddha himself. And he has three important qualities. First of all, he has wisdom. He's very wise. And he has purity. The Buddha will never say something or do something that is hurting others. And then the third quality is that he is the person that is very compassionate. You can imagine a person like the Buddha being a very great meditation master can actually, decide just to meditate by himself and be happy for himself. But he decided to teach others as well. And that doing his entire life teaching like that, from the morning to the late evening, every day. So that is something that is very interesting about his life. And that is showing his compassion. These three qualities are actually the core of what we call Buddhist culture or the culture of the Enlightened ones. The first quality, wisdom, comes from respect, developing respect. The second quality, purity, comes from developing self-discipline. And the third quality of compassion comes from developing patience. Because patience is the first step for developing higher qualities of compassion for others. So these are like three main habits that we gain from this culture, from the culture of the Enlightened ones. So what is respect? Start with the first one. Respect, or sometimes in Buddhist texts we call it reverence, is, people understand it differently. Some people say, I respect you, whatever you say, okay, I respect you. I don't want to listen to you, but I respect you. Oh, I respect your opinion, go do whatever you like. Just don't bother me, something like that. This is like some understanding of respect. But if we look more deeply, respect is actually to find the strength of another person. This is the quality that we gain from Buddhist culture. The quality that we gain from the culture of the Enlightened ones. Because when we bow, when we chant, and even when we meditate, we develop in that way respect. Respect for the Dhamma, respect for the good practices that help to cultivate the mind, that to goodness and purity that help to purify the mind. So this is some important thing that we can conclude, that Buddhist culture leads to respect. Respect starts by acknowledging that other people have good qualities that we can learn from. When we acknowledge those things, that we can take those other qualities of other people as an example, what we call emulate, right? Take other people as an example and learn from other people. There's a story about an American president, I think it was Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, right? One day he went, he was walking with one general, a general in the army of the United States. And when he was walking, he saw there was one slave. At that time, slavery was not abolished yet. And it was a slave, and in those days, people looked down on those people. And this was also a black man. In those days, people looked down on black people. So this slave came to walk and met the president, or walked besides. And then the Abraham Lincoln said, or the slave said something along the lines of, "Good morning, Mr. President," and then went along. And then the president took off his hat, and he said, "Good morning, Mr." something like that. And maybe he used his family name or something like that. And the general of the army was very confused. He said, "You just greet a slave like that? Oh, that's going too far." And he said something very important. He said, "I just want to be the better gentleman." In other words, he would like to show himself the good gentleman with respect. And he felt that as a president, he had to show more respect than just any other person, because he had to be an example. Some people might not agree on this story and say that Abraham Lincoln is like this or like that. I don't know about that. But this story is very interesting, and it shows that when people think of respect, there are two ways to think of respect. First of all, the more we give, the more we lose. The more respect we give to others, the more respect we lose, because we lower ourselves or something like that. Some people might think like that. I'm the boss. I'm the boss of this company. I'm the boss of this company, and I don't want to show too much respect in the meeting, because then people will not treat me as a boss or something like that. So this is one way to look at respect. Another way to look at respect, however, is maybe more deeper. That is, the more respect we give, the more we gain. In other words, to be respectful leads to being respectable. When we are respectful to someone, we, in that way, also become respectable. So this is the essence of respect, that when we open up to learn from someone, in that way we also gain those good qualities. So when we meet someone that we feel has good qualities to learn from, and show respect to that person, in that way we gain something. And in that way we also make ourselves into a respectable person. The second quality is the quality of self-discipline. Now this is something that we might internally be quite familiar with. Self-discipline includes things like orderliness, or like cleanliness, and even being punctual. Actually, to show respect, just to show it, is also a form of discipline. But it's not like, for example, a soldier might greet his superior, try to be respectful to his superior, say, but he doesn't actually respect him. No, it's just the discipline of a soldier. He has to greet his superior with respect, right? He has to, yes, something like that. But actually, he might think in his mind, "Oh, when are they going to move this man from this squadron? When are they going to move this man to another part of the army?" This is just a custom of soldiers that they respect in that way. This is just discipline. It's not respect yet. But this is important, though. In some countries, there is not much of a custom to show respect through our physical action. But actually, this is quite good, because when we show respect through our physical action, people will know and people will be encouraged. Like in the past, in the West, when a minister president, they used the word excellency. Right? In Switzerland, do you still use excellency? Or your excellence, I'm sorry, your excellence. Sometimes? Not really. And someone said, one Buddhist writer commented that actually these customs are quite good. It is too bad that they have been abandoned, because when someone says to another person, "Your Excellency," that person will have to be excellent. So respect is like a way to encourage another person to be excellent also. And there was one country where one queen said she didn't want to be called Majesty anymore. Everyone just called her by the first name. But once she had she given the throne to her daughter, who was the next queen. The daughter said, "Everyone call me Majesty." And somebody said, "Why you do not do the same thing as your mother? Why do you have a different approach?" And then she said, "It's my job to be a Majesty. I have to be, I have to act like a Majesty. I have to act like a queen." So this is the benefit of showing respect. In that way, we encourage others, and also we also ourselves practice to encourage others. So when Kunyai Ajahn set up the temple, she was very clear about this. Said to have discipline, shared discipline. She said she taught to the monks and the lay people living in the temple that we eat at the same time. So you all eat at the same time as well, right? This is continuing the temple culture. Because when we eat at the same time, when there is little food, then everyone has little food. When there is a lot of food, there is a lot of food for everyone. But it's not like you have one person that eats it all and then the other person has nothing. So this is the benefit of having discipline together, eating at the same time. Or other forms of discipline, like keeping things clean. Kunyai would always teach that we should keep every centimeter of the temple clean. And a temple that is clean is very important. She said about cleanliness, she said that she started out with nothing at all. She said, I started out with nothing at all. There was nothing here in the place here, around here. There used to be nothing at all. In the past, there weren't any buildings here. It was just an empty land with no trees, nothing, and very acid. And she said, I really value cleanliness. I started out with nothing at all, but I really value cleanliness. Really value cleanliness. I've really always valued cleanliness since a long time ago. I have persevered until this place has been so clean it inspires people's faith. And this place has become a haven, a place for meditation. So this is something that she would always teach to everyone. So wherever you would go, you would try to pick up some trash, or wherever you go, you try to keep things clean. And she would set the example for that. Whenever she used something, she would clean it. Whatever things that she used in her daily life, everything was clean. One day she was cleaning a chair, and she was also cleaning it at the bottom of the chair, every part of the chair. And somebody said to her that, why do you do that? We can do that for you. But she said this is like the way that she practiced her mind for meditation. And this is the culture that she had set in the temple. And then there is the aspect of what we might call patience. Patience leads to compassion, because when we have patience, it is like the foundation for other good qualities. If we can tolerate others, we can also be compassionate to them. Patience actually starts with basic things in life, like being patient to hardship, being patient to physical suffering, and then it becomes more and more difficult when we talk about being patient to conflict with others. Being patient when we are to try and prevent conflicts and to live with other people in a peaceful way. And being patient, and this is the most important one, most difficult one, being patient to temptations, or being patient when we are tempted. In other words, to be able to resist. Patience can be summarized by two basic principles. That is, not to give up, whatever the circumstances, and not to give in. Just like in the world, in the mundane life, people, in order to achieve success in their profession, in their professional life, or in their occupation, they will go through a lot of effort. For example, Edison, before he could invent the great inventions that he had invented, he had to fail many times. Sometimes he failed so many times, thousands of times, before he could achieve what he wanted to achieve. And some people said to him, why you failed so many times? And he said, no, I just found a way to succeed for many, many times. So when we have patience, this is like the quality that helps us to persevere and not to give up. You might have heard the story of Winston Churchill that was invited. You know about that, right? When he talked about when he came to teach, he was asked to do what they call the commencement exercises at the university, to encourage the students to continue their studies well and to put a lot of efforts in their studies. And every time he did this talk that he would give every year. You know, he was supposed to give the talk about the importance of English language. But it is said that he himself used to be not so good at English before, but he learned about English language through many years of training, and now later on he became a well-known writer. And Winston Churchill, he would have this talk that he would give every year in the university, would be very simple. He would come onto the stage with his walking stick, his walking rod, and his hat, and he would come on the stage, put down his hat, put down his rod, put down his walking stick, and then he said, "Never give up." He said, "Never give up." And then he put on his hat again, and he picked up his walking stick and he went away. And he continued this talk every year. Every year he would come and he would say, "Never give up, never give up." And then he... So this is like the essence. If you ask how to develop patience, what is the best way to develop patience? The best way to develop patience is by being patient. By being perseverant in doing good, by being persevere in avoiding all that is destructive in our lives, and to persevere in purifying the mind in meditation. So this is one aspect of patience. And the other aspect of patience is to not give in. Just now we talked about not giving up. There is also the aspect of not giving in. Some things in life seem to be pleasant, but they are dangerous. Something in life, what we just talked about, are unpleasant. We don't want them, but they bother us, so we have to be patient. But some things are pleasant, but they might be dangerous. Like someone comes to you and offers you some money to do this or that in your profession. This is an example. Sometimes we have to be very patient, and it may come in many ways, these temptations. It may come in the form of a man. Like a man comes to you, but he's actually not the right person at that time, or he's dangerous. Or it might be, like I mentioned, money. There might be many reasons. There might be many ways that we can be tempted in daily life. Or even alcohol can be, for some people, tempting. When we were young, we were still children, no one ever appreciated alcohol. Most children do not like alcohol at all. But once we grow old, we get used to alcohol and we start to like it. So some people, they feel they might be tempted by alcohol. Because actually alcohol is very detrimental to our practice of the mind. But if we learn to give up alcohol, not to give in, then we might, gain more purity of mind. But this is another temptation. Even when you are a teacher, teaching Dhamma, sometimes temptations might come. It may be easy for a teacher of Dhamma or a teacher in any kind of subject to be tempted. So these kind of things are important in your life. Patience, therefore, is a very important quality. And the Buddha, he said that patience is like a foremost quality. You might say, if you analyze the Buddhist teaching, it's only next to wisdom. Wisdom is the highest quality in Buddhism, but patience is next. Because patience is that thing that makes us, the word that they use for it is that makes you burn the defilements away with it. You burn the impurities in the mind. So, but patience starts with thinking in a positive way. And the classical story that's been given since ancient times in Thailand is the story of the monk Puna, who thought of going back to his home country, his homeland. And when he was, his homeland, the country where he lived, was quite, you might consider a bit primitive, or a bit, the people living there were quite aggressive. They might sometimes hurt monks. So he then was asked by the Buddha, was checked by the Buddha whether he was really ready to go back. So the Buddha asked him, when you go back to your country, some people, they might shout at you. But Puna said, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Because if they shout at me, I will think that at least they haven't thrown anything at me yet. And then he said, okay, but suppose they throw things at you. Okay, that's okay. I will think that at least they haven't hit me with anything yet. But what if they start hitting you? Well, they're not hitting me with anything that hurts that much. But what if they hurt you? But at least they haven't stuck me with a knife yet. Or what if they stuck you with a knife? But at least they haven't killed me yet. But what if they kill you? Well, then I will think, some people have to do a lot of effort. They want to kill themselves. They have to do a lot of effort to find someone or to find some means to kill themselves. But I don't have to do that. Like a positive thinker. But he didn't want to kill himself. But he wanted to practice meditation and to spread the Dhamma in his home country, and he was ready to face all these obstacles. This is the power of patience. And patience can have a very deep impact in our lives. Patience is something we can practice every day. Every day when we lead the simple life, lead the life in the temple. I remember that the first time that I went to the I came to the temple, sitting in the airplane coming to Thailand, I felt it was the airplane is very small, very, like sitting in an airplane, the seat is very small, very not so good. But then, after a while that I was living in Thailand for a while, I then became used to sleeping on a hard surface. Sleeping very simple, just having a mat. You only have a mat, or do you have a bed? Do you have a bed? No, here. The mat, okay. Just a mat, right? Very simple. In the beginning, you might have some problems, especially if you're from the West. You might have some back problems, or you might not be used to it yet, not be familiar with it yet. But after a while, you grow familiar with it. So I remember that going back from Thailand back home, I felt the airplane is very comfortable. The same airplane, same ticket. The flight from there to here was very, very, very difficult. But when I went back, very comfortable. So this is the way we can train ourselves through patience. Through what? Through the means of what we call the culture of the Enlightened Ones. So in other words, the culture of the Enlightened Ones is also very much about the things we use in our daily life. Because the things that we use in our daily life, they are the sort of things that create our habits. Our habits in our daily life, where do they come from? They come from the things we use every day, starting with the place where we sleep, starting with the food that we take every day, starting with the clothes that we wear. Like a person that puts on his clothes without much care, you know. Like a person just very quickly putting on his clothes. Another person very carefully putting on his clothes. It's different. The habits will be different. One person, if you talk about the place where you sleep, has an alarm clock with a button that says snooze. And waking up, that button is very tempting. And then you press the snooze button. And another person maybe has no alarm clock, or even if he has an alarm clock, he doesn't use the snooze button. Those two people will grow up in a different way, will develop in a different way. Their habits will be different because of the things they use in daily life. So I just gave you the general idea of these 4 noble lineages. Now let's go through these different items now. The first one is actually the most important one, most fundamental quality. That is to be content. To be content can just be like a discipline, like you feel, I have to be content, I have to be content. But it can also grow as something that you become familiar with the things, with the simple life. When you live in a temple for a while, you might find that this kind of grows to you. You start to feel this contentment. You just want to lead the simple life. You just do not want to have much. So I was just going to say that if you go back to your home, and then you really ask yourself, what in your home will you be using within 1 month? Okay? For monks, I just mentioned 10 days, right? But okay, that's maybe quite strict. Maybe for lay people, maybe 1 month, life in society, 1 month. Is there anything in your home that you will not be using within 1 month? Yes? Can you put it aside? Can you give it to others? Maybe difficult, huh? This is the way to think, that the way the Buddha taught monks to think. So when you have been given an additional robe, or even an additional alms bowl, then you have to start thinking, will I be using this within 10 days? If not, then I give it to the Sangha, give it to the monastic community. If I will be using it within 10 days, then I will keep it. But this is the way that the Buddha trained monks. And for food, it's even more strict. For food, you cannot keep food for longer than 1 day. You cannot keep food for longer than 1 day. Like if you keep, if suppose someone offers food after lunch, you cannot eat that food anymore, right? And so you start to keep it for the next day, then that is not possible for a monk. So this is the life of a monk, and we might not be a monk, or we might not be a nun yet. But this is an example of a life of simplicity, of a simple life, a frugal life, very simple and economical. The first one is actually the most important one, to be content. Because when we are content, the mind easily can come to stillness. When you are content, just leading a simple life, you feel very happy, the mind can easily come to stillness. There is this word that we use in the Pali language, which means gladness. Gladness is the first quality that leads the mind to a state of meditation. Suppose you are very angry and you're very in bad mood. It's difficult to meditate, right? But some people like to meditate when they're in a bad mood. You feel it's very necessary to meditate. But normally you need to have a good positive state of mind to easily come to concentration. So the first step is to have this gladness. And when the mind is glad, you will feel that your body becomes light, very light, very, 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 very soft. You feel sometimes that your mind is expanding. Sometimes you feel that your body is gone. This is what we call piti or joy or rapture, you might say. And from that, the mind then develops more and more. Develops what we might call happiness, calm, concentration. But it starts with gladness. And this gladness can also come from a life of contentment. There was one monk who ordained in the time of the Buddha. And he used to be a person with a lot of property. He was as a king, living like a king. And living with a lot of property, sometimes, of course, he had to make sure that he had guards to protect the property. He had to lock things, he had to make sure everything was properly taken care of. Like in modern days, if we have a big villa, a big house, we have to have a good alarm system, everything has to be taken care of. Some people have maybe 2 or 3 alarm systems. If you sneeze, sometimes the alarm will ring or something. You have to be very, make sure that nothing is stolen. Now this monk, this man who ordained as a monk, he was saying all the time, "Oh, what bliss! Oh, what bliss! Oh, I'm so happy! Oh, what bliss!" And some people said, I think that he's not thinking about his monk's life. Said, it's strange, this monk. Normally a monk, when you are a monk, you're ordained, you should look very serious, like look like this all the time, meditate. And then at a deeper purpose, a deeper part of it is that we actually use the things, the requisites, the necessities in life in a purposeful way. Like you chant, you listen to the chanting in the morning, or you listen to the guided meditation when you have a meal, right? Before you have a meal, you can think of the meal that you are eating. You are eating that for a purpose. You're eating that for a purpose to help yourself in the spiritual life, to give energy, to give yourself the power to lead the spiritual life, and that's it. No need to eat a lot. Very simple. Or when you're wearing your clothes, you think about, okay, I'm on a retreat. I did not need to look very good, just look bright. And then you just feel that, okay, these clothes are just to protect myself from cold, to ward off colds, to ward off the heat, to make sure that the mosquitoes do not bite me too much. That is just enough. the clothes we only wear for that purpose. Or even the place where we sleep. Okay, we only sleep there for the purpose of, leading the spiritual life in a comfortable way. And to have a place where you can sleep and meditate, where there is no cold, no heat. That may be a way to consider. And then finally, the sixth quality is not to be conceited about this as well. Because some people, they go through this entire retreat, and then there is, in some cases, especially for those that have been on many places and many retreats, they might have the feeling like, oh, this is the thing that I would like to talk to others about. I've been to this place, to that retreat, very strict, all day long. You have to sleep on a very hard surface and very strict. But the purpose is still, you want to tell others about it. This is another aspect. Some people call this spiritual materialism. Like you go to many retreats and I have done 5 retreats. How many did you? Something like that. I've done 4 or 5 retreats and been to this and that, ordained for 3 times. So this is like at the deepest level. Okay, we also do not use our training of the mind to try to be better than others or try to be conceited about that. But that is the practice, the noble lineages. And then the final noble lineage, and the most important culture that we practice, is what is called being fond of abandoning, rejoices in abandoning, and being fond of developing, rejoices in developing. Be fond of developing, rejoicing in developing. That means that all the things that we talked about, whether you use your clothes, the food in your daily life, the place that you sleep, all of those things that you use in your daily life, those things are helping you to form habits. Good habits of contentment, good habits of leading the life that is detailed, being a person that has detail in the things you do. And also many other qualities you gain from these daily requisites, daily necessities. Like when you use, like the place that you wake up has an impact on your life. Like I mentioned about the alarm clock, So all of these things, they're helping you to develop good habits and to abandon any bad habits that you might have. And that is the 4th aspect of what we call the noble culture. Kunyai Ajahn, she said that using water, you have to use it properly. If you don't use it properly, you owe water. Like you owe water to someone. Using electricity, you have to use it properly. If you don't use it properly, you owe electricity. Using money, you have to use it properly. If you don't use it properly, you owe money. Once you have obtained something, you have to know how to use it properly. If you don't know how to use it properly, it's like you owe that thing for your entire life. And she said, look at me, even when I rinse the toilet, I won't spill a single drop of water. But this is the word that she used, in Thai language. The word is a bit strong. It means something like a person that is in debt. Or a person that is in debt to another person. In other words, whenever we live in the temple grounds, everything is sacred. Everything's been given out of faith. And then everything that we use is then become something sacred that we use with mindfulness. Like you live here and you use everything that you've got, the things you've brought with you, the clothes you've brought, the food you eat, you use it for the purpose of meditation. This is the correct purpose. And in this way you train yourself to use only those things that you really need in life. I don't think you will have any Spanish spies coming here, but if there would be, they would probably run back very quickly because they've seen the qualities of heart that are very hard to find. So when we talk about any culture, or like some people say that any culture can make anything right, that is maybe one perspective, but in the perspective of Buddhism, the culture is there to develop the mind, to develop good character. When we develop good character, develop the mind, then we use these requisites, use these necessities in our daily life to develop our character, to develop our mind. And we will find that this gives us contentment, happiness, gladness, and brings us to the still mind within. And also, most importantly, it helps us to develop the purity of mind that comes from good character, that comes from good habits, both of habits of the mind that we meditate, when we meditate, and habits that come from our daily life. That's all I have to say for today. This is the talk for today. We have no more time left to meditate.